Okay, so I want to take you guys back. I want to take you guys back to the forbidden internet romance with Nick Fuentes, which if we're honest about it was like always doomed from the start because Nick Fuentes is 25 years old and a virgin and I'm not 25 years old or a virgin. And so that was just, it was playful internet banter and it was fine and it was going really well until Nick's friends got involved and then Nick's friends because they suck ruined everything. And around the time that Nick's friends were ruining everything and they were disrupting my Socialism Saturday stream and generally being dicks on the internet, I met another guy. And that other guy was also kind of in the Nick sphere. And he said, "Do you want to come on my channel?" And I said, well, I kind of was like, I was a little apprehensive because I was like, pretty much everyone on that side of the internet, I just don't get along with. It doesn't work out. But I don't know. I was like in a what the hell kind of mood. I was a little bit bored. I was having kind of an existential crisis of if I even wanted to do streaming anymore or not. And I was like, sure, fine, I'll come on your channel. And we had a great chat. And it turns out that he was like relatively normal. I was like, okay, maybe there's hope for the internet yet. And in preparation for that chat, he sent me like a 7-hour video documenting like his entire exodus from Cozy, and him and Nick had this massive struggle session. And if I'm honest about it, he gave Nick really good advice in that struggle session that Nick really should have listened to, but he didn't because he's 25 years old. And so whatever. And that was my introduction to Naptown. Now, again, I was going through an existential crisis at this stage. I was really kind of done with everything. And I was like, why don't I just engage in internet drama for a little while? And so I started kind of like watching Naptown's videos because they were interesting and like reality TV, whatever. And so I watched another one of the videos with the guy in it. And what I realized is that he is really, really good at psychological fuckery. Now, I'm a big fan of psychological fuckery. I have a whole website about triggering, so that was pretty great. And he was using psychological fuckery on Ethan Ralph. And Ethan Ralph is someone who has been obsessed with me since like 2021. Ethan Ralph has had blue balls to try to talk to me for years and years and years. He used to send me all these emails, all these messages, all this stuff. He used to do all these streams about me when I told him no. And so to see Ethan Ralph get psychologically fucked with, I was a fan of that. So then I started like paying attention to this guy. And there was I think it was like either after a happy hour or a Socialism Saturday stream, and I just happened to be like working, and I turned on his stream, and he was drunk, and he was getting drunk on IPAs, which is a whole I can't talk about the IPA thing. I'm really upset about the IPA thing. IPAs suck. There are so many better beers in Southern California. All he needs to do is go to Vaughn's. Last time I was there, Vaughn's had like a really decent beer selection that was like not IPAs, but we're not going to talk about that right now. I will express my feelings about beer another time. But he was getting really drunk. And he was trying to get his audience to meet a certain sub goal. And so he got to within like 2 like subs of the goal, and he said that if you meet the sub goal, he's going to teach you, the audience, how to retain your semen. And I was like, all right, sold. And so I pulled out my credit card and I sent in 2 subs, which was all he needed left. And so it was like $10. And of course it made him laugh because it was me. And I wasn't really like, I wasn't like active in his chat or anything. And then totally unprompted out of nowhere, he goes, I don't care who knows this, but I totally smash. Carlin, when are you coming over? And I was like, okay, well, that's the best $10 I've spent all week. And that was kind of it. And he didn't leave the stream online or anything. And so there was no evidence of this taking place. And I was kind of like, okay, he was drunk, whatever. It's like really 50-50 whether or not he would anyway. So like, what? No big deal. This isn't gonna like whatever. This ends on the drunken stream. Well, couple weeks later, Naptown is in my chat, and I said, Naptown, what drama's going on the internet? Like, who should I watch? And Naptown says, you should watch the Thorpes, Carlin. And of course, Naptown, per usual, was giving really bad advice. But I listened to it at the time, and I decided to watch all the Naptown videos about the Thorpes. Well, the boy happened to be in the first video that I watched. Now, I didn't know this when I started the video, but like when you put on a video of someone from this side of the internet, what happens is it puts up like a bat signal where all of a sudden there are messages floating around in Discords and people are telling Carolyn streaming about you, like whatever. And so he ended up sniping the stream and called me his girlfriend. And I didn't know that at the time because I wasn't listening to the sound, but I replayed it later and I was like, okay, well, he wants to play around. I'm fine with playing around on the internet. And on Christmas, I decided to do an episode of Nitwits where I watched a debate he did like 2 years ago or something about are women property. And I was just doing it to actually find out who he was and like some of the things he said on the internet. But of course, the two women in the video, Stardust and Brittany, had to ruin everything and make it all about them and do like 9,000 reaction videos when literally all I wanted to do was listen to what a man had to say. I don't know why this is so hard. And the women wouldn't let me do that. So then Naptown documented that whole thing and whatever. And so this has been going on for a while where like there's been internet banter back and forth. And then when Grace like got pissed at me about like, calling her father a narcissist, he defended my honor. I was really, really pleased about that. And then when Hormaxer went off and had his feelings on the internet, he even dragged Hormaxer a little bit. So I was pretty good about that. And I kind of like, as this just kept going on, I was like, maybe I should actually, talk to him on a stream. That might be responsible. If we're going to be internet boyfriend and girlfriend, we should actually probably talk to each other. And so really what we're going to see tonight is probably all Naptown's fault on some level because Naptown, I feel like, has been instigating this all along. But we're just going to see how it goes. This is either going to be the first internet date or the last internet date. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, here he is. Welcome, Big Tech, to the channel. Finally.
I didn't know this was a date, but that's cool. I don't get a lot of dates, so I'll take it.
I don't know.
Cool.
I just made it up.
I forgot about all that. I forgot about all those details too. That was a good rundown.
I don't forget anything. I'm a savant.
I guess. Yeah, we have lore.
I guess so. Was I wrong about any of it?
No, I think that was all accurate. Actually, don't find any problems with it. That was all correct.
Yeah.
Hearing it like that, it's quite a story. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Hey,
how are you?
What's up?
I heard from Adam Green that you were jealous that he got to talk to me on Valentine's Day and you didn't.
I didn't even know it was Valentine's Day. But yeah. Yes, real jealous. How'd you like your talk with Adam Green?
I liked him a lot. He's got good energy. I liked him. I didn't know it was Valentine's Day either when I scheduled it, to be fair. I didn't realize.
Okay, cool. I won't take it personal then.
No, you shouldn't.
Adam Green's, he's my bro. He lives not too far from me. We're both San Diego area. We hang out a little bit.
No, I liked him. I made my audience.
I'm blushing, chat. I'm not blushing. Am I? Maybe.
That's why you're sitting in the dark.
True.
To hide it.
Am I really? I look darker on your screen than I am. Maybe not. I'm not gonna mess with the settings though. Yeah.
Whatever.
Right. It's dark. It's dark mode. A little. You kind of put me on the spot there. I feel a little bit nervous now. I feel like you kind of hyped it up.
I have a question though. I have a question that's definitely not going to make you feel less nervous.
Okay.
Because you told me I could ask anything. Yeah. So why are you nervous? Why are you so obviously and clearly in love with me?
I don't know. It's what is it? Just the natural beauty, or the the intelligence, the beautiful mind. Probably I can tell that you have a sweetheart. You're special. Probably we have an astrological alignment. I think probably
we definitely have that. We definitely have that
stuff.
Well, cool.
Also, I'm. No, I won't say that. That would be rude. I was gonna say that I'm old and I'll take what I can get. Sorry. That's rude. Last date confirmed. I'm dumped. Sorry.
That's
rude.
it. That's it. It's all over.
What else? Why are you in love with me?
Why am I in love with you? Because you surprised me by knowing woo stuff that I didn't expect you to know, and that was intriguing. And I think that you give good advice. You give sage life advice. And I don't know, you're pretty hot. And I think that, and I heard a rumor, and I think this is a rumor that you started. I also heard a rumor that you have like a massive dick. So, that doesn't hurt.
True. True. The rumor's out there and it's true.
Excellent.
What are you going to do? It's a blessing and a curse. Um, but all right, now the chat is throwing up. They're all vomiting. Um,
See.
is this what we're going to talk about?
No,
We're going to talk
no.
about how much we love
What?
each other and how
Okay.
big my dick is?
No. We can move on to other things because I actually have I have questions. I have questions.
Okay.
I have questions. I just wanted to
All right.
like get you
Okay,
good and
cool.
embarrassed right
Let's
off
keep
the
it all
bat.
PG-13 and go on from there.
Okay. How like you came into this space from Ethan Ralph? Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that
much.
happen?
I used to watch his show,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to call in. He used to take calls a lot, and he would do more debates. And I used to watch mostly for the debates. He also did like some drama stuff, and there was a bit of a community. It's a lot older than me and my participation in his show. There's a lot of characters that used to be regulars and stuff. He has like a lore that goes all the way back to Gamergate. I sort of was a later arrival into that community, maybe just the last, maybe 3 years ago. He goes back to like 6 or 7 years ago. I found him like 3 to 4. Anyway, for those who know like what era that would be in his show, it's kind of an older community that he has going back to Gamergate. And so, but he used to a couple years ago be doing a lot of interesting debates, and not that he was debating, but he'd have interesting personalities that would come on, and they would debate issues that are relevant in the far right, dissident right conversation online. And one thing led to another for me personally, where I found myself like interested in those subjects and those people, and they were debating ideas, and it would happen on his show a lot. And it was an interesting venue because he would call like blood sports. It's called the Kill Stream, where it's a debate, not just like an academic debate about the relevant issues, but they would like fight with each other, and that makes it a good spectacle. So I would watch that, and then I would sometimes call in, and it was actually mostly like I was getting put up to it by some of my buddies online. Like I was in a couple different Discord groups, and they'd be like, "Big Tech, there's a good debate coming on. Come watch it with us." I'm watching it with them in the VC, and then they're like, "Oh, he's taking calls. You should call in," because I was just like the one who would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would mostly be calling in to try to like put on a show for my buddies, to try to make it funny and interesting, so that I would come back and they'd be like, "That was so fun." So I'm trying to interact with his stream in a fun and funny way. And through doing that, I ended up becoming like sort of like a known entity, like a personality on his show. Like people would recognize me when I would call. And anyway, if you want the long version, there's a little bit more to it. There was one particular stream, and it was actually with Adam Green. Adam Green was calling in and debating somebody. I don't remember who he debated, but there was an ongoing conversation between him and Jay Dyer, and he was trying to get Jay Dyer to face him in a debate on the Kill Stream. And Jay was dodging him. Jay was basically, I don't know if you know about Jay Dyer, but he's kind of like, he's pretty good. He's a good debater, and he's
Is he like a dickish Christian? Yeah.
Yes, he's
I know
a
who he is.
dickish Christian, exactly. And also conspiracy theorist. He wrote a book called Esoteric Hollywood about Hollywood conspiracies, and he does the 4th hour on Alex Jones's show sometimes. So he's kind of like, from our neck of the woods, he's sort of like a bigger Isalib. And he was kind of big dogging or little broing Adam and saying like, "Oh, I'm not going to debate you. You're nobody. You're not an academic. I'm only going to talk to serious people." And Adam has this conspiracy concept about the Bible, and that it was created by Jews to subvert the Western Empire. And Jay just doesn't want to have any part of it, and won't face Adam, won't talk to Adam about it. And he's sort of like Adam is like, so if Jay is a leading voice on the Christian apologetics, good, like proving Christianity and standing up for the reality of Christianity and the authenticity, he's a big person that Adam wants to face, and Jay won't do it. So one time when Adam was on the Kill Stream, I called in at the end when they were doing Q&A and open calls to the public, and I called in doing a Jay Dyer impression, and I was pretending to be Jay Dyer. And Ralph and Adam Green didn't know if it was actually Jay or not. And Jay had been on the show with Ralph plenty of times. So the fact that I fooled Ralph and Adam and a lot of the audience was like, "Is this even the real Jay?" It was sort of like pretty funny. And then there were rumors going around if Jay had called in or who was that. And then I messaged, or somehow it got around to Ralph that it was me. and not actually Jay. And Ralph messaged me and asked me if I would want to do a debate with Adam pretending to be Jay Dyer. Since we couldn't get
Oh.
Jay to debate Adam, he was like, "Will you do a mock debate and you'll be Jay? And so we can have Adam debating Jay Dyer, but even if Jay won't come." So I did, and I did a debate. I represented Jay Dyer as him debating Adam. And anyway, and it was sort of a hit. And then I got known for debating through that. One thing led to another. I got into some other debate shows as myself, had to do with Andrew Wilson, BPF. I ended up getting another debate on Cozy on Politically Provoked, Brittany's stream.
Mm-hmm.
They had seen some of those others. And this is sort of like, I just sort of like fell into this situation where I was a known entity. And then people were like, "Why don't you do a stream?" And they asked Nick at one point if I could get a channel on Cozy. So I said, yeah. And Nick said, yeah. So I started streaming on Cozy, literally just because I was a caller to the Kill Stream and Politically Provoked and some of these other debate shows. All right. That's it.
So you just kind of like fell into this whole streaming world.
Yep. You literally just because I had free time on my hand because I got laid off during COVID because like COVID shut the business down that I worked at.
Mm-hmm.
I started another thing up with my buddy. I was working for myself. I had free time, and I got online because we were all locked down. So literally, like the only reason I'm here is like because of COVID, sort of.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a result of the virus.
No, I mean, it's kind of the same with me. Like, I think that part of the reason my channel grew so well, I mean, I was like on all these shows in 2020, but I think part of the reason that like my channel grew so quickly is because everyone was online during COVID. Like, there was never a better time to stream than during COVID. And I, you know, the world shut down, and like I, you know, all of a sudden was a like celebrity on the conservative right, which was ridiculous to me, but like whatever. So I was like, okay. But like I think one of the reasons that that I find your story interesting, and I haven't gone back into everything, some of it because you asked me not to, but I feel like you and I
Wait,
have.
what did I ask you not to do?
You told me not to look into the Andrew Wilson stuff.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I listened.
Oh,
I
okay.
listened.
I think I might have told you not to get involved with them, or I don't. If I that sounds like something I would say. I don't remember.
Whichever.
I kind of don't want you to put that in my mouth. Don't look into it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's
Fine.
what I said.
I don't know. Okay. Whichever. Fine.
Okay.
We'll go with yours. But the point
Thank
is,
you.
like I got sucked into like this land, not really knowing anything about it and not really knowing the personalities. And I feel like you and I have had like kind of similar things in that they loved me in 2020 when I was doing all their shows and stuff like that. And then I was like summarily like excommunicated because this group of people just wouldn't stop like creating nonsense on the internet about me. I ended up getting all these like internet stalkers that still stalk me to this day and all this bullshit. And it was like, when I was looking at some of your stuff, it's kind of seemed the same thing because you got onto Cozy and then like they all started attacking you.
True. That's true. It sounds like there's an implied question there. Do you want to know why?
Sure.
Yeah, there was an issue that's a bit of a story. Dude, do I need to tell it? I might as well. I'll tell you the story.
Mm-hmm.
Settle in. It's a bit of a tale. All right. So goes back to right when I started on Cozy. One of the first things that happened was Andrew Wilson, who you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
He and I had a debate or two on his channel. And that was just because somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, have you heard of Andrew Wilson? He's looking to debate Groypers," which means somebody who is like on Nick Fuentes' team.
Mm-hmm. Did you consider yourself a Groyper?
Yeah, because and at that time it was really fun because Nick was doing this thing that they called the Groyper War back then. And that was where he was sending like a lot of the guys that were watching him and following him back at this time, Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, TP USA, this whole like Con Inc. establishment conservative college campus thing was going on, where they were doing these events at college campuses. And they were all like essentially like Zionist Judeo-Christian campus conservative groups or something like that, and they were holding these rallies for this group that Nick was like fundamentally against.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long backstory reason why, like Nick used to work part of Ben Shapiro's organization, sort of, and then there was a falling out, and then he got labeled as an anti-Semite. And these people are all people who go to Israel and kiss the wall, and like they're explicitly Christian, many of them, but they either work with or for Ben Shapiro, who is Jewish, and they will criticize anybody except for Israel, and they're like for unreasonably pro-Israel, and you can't really question them on it. There's some sort of like weird issue there. So Nick was pressing that issue, and they were showing up to his events where they would also do. It was more popular then. For some reason, it seems to have fallen away. But the live Q&A, the question and answer parts of shows and events, that was really popular at the time. So they would let the audience show up and ask questions of the people on stage at these events. Well, Nick, his guys were showing up at these across the country at all these different events. They called this the Groyper War, for those who don't know about it. But the Groypers were showing up and hitting with like hard-hitting questions that were designed to like stump and pressure the TPOSA crowd. And there were like homosexuals in the group, which is like an explicitly no thing to do in a Christian organization. And they would ask him a question like, well, how does anal sex help us win the culture war? And the crowd would go like, ooh, like that. And they would say, hey, how come you won't talk to, oh, you're anti-censorship, anti-establishment in that way. How come you won't talk to Nick Fuentes, who's like the most canceled right-wing conservative commentator? Why are you blackballing him and you won't talk to him? And they were doing things like this and pressuring him. And so this was like during the Trump era, and there was this big conservative Christian campaign on the college campuses. So anyway, I saw that going on, and it was cool. It was pretty fun. And I went to one of the events that was at UCLA where Don Jr. was there, and I was a big part of that. And that turned out to be a big hit. And it was really fun. There was like a lot of energy, like nationwide, and people showing up IRL to sort of mess with these kind of phony Christian conservative groups. And Nick was at the vanguard of this wild sort of like rebellious, kind of a punk rock type of feel to this thing that was going on. And I said, yeah, this is fun. This rules. I like it. It's making waves, it's making trouble, having conversations you're not supposed to have. Nick is getting deplatformed and debanked, and like he was sort of like a radical figure. I saw him as, and I thought, that's cool. I support that. That's like, he's having fun. These guys are having fun. They're being sort of naughty, but they're doing it in the name of just like goodness and Jesus and stuff. And I was like, all right, this is kind of, it's sort of wholesome, but it's also sort of like subversive, not, it's subversive, but like, again, sort of like counterculture. I mean,
yeah.
And
it was pissing off the conservatives too, which is always,
yeah, it was pissing off, right, the establishment conservatives, pissing off those guys. And I thought that's sweet. And so that's, and I was in support of that. I liked that. I liked that a lot. That was fun. So that's why I was excited to be there. And I was like, and I saw people criticizing Nick, like Andrew, for example, this BPF guy. He calls himself Big Papa Fascist. Andrew Wilson. He has the channel on YouTube called The Crucible. And you might have seen him lately. He's now getting into the red pill sphere and talking to Just Pearly things, and she on whatever podcast. And his channel has actually grown a lot since I know him. He was sort of like in the nobody land. And he and I had a debate at one point, and he was very critical to Nick. But his criticisms were sort of like, he just, honestly, I couldn't even summarize them for you now. I don't even remember. I don't remember what it was, but it just seemed lame. And he would just like call him racist or something like that kind of thing. And
that seems odd.
For
someone, for like someone on the side he's on.
Yeah, well, he's sort of like, it turns out he's just like, all I'll say about him is he doesn't make any sense. Like, he just got baptized like last week, but he's been like a Christian advocate for the last couple of years, and on the platform as like Christian deontological ethics advocate or something. Honestly, it comes back to Jay Dyer again. Him and his wife saw a Jay Dyer video and decided that they're going to be like Orthodox Christians now, and they hooked up with the Ortho Bros, which is a whole other community of like extreme like asshole Christians. like you to what you call them,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And they like to get into these debates. They like to debate Christianity in like this really aggressive logic. That's all I'll say. They use an aggressive form of syllogism in trying to debate for Christianity, while not really exhibiting very much virtue. It seems like a lot of virtue signaling.
Yeah.
That's my impression of them.
Didn't Rachel have like 3 husbands or something?
Yeah, you might have seen that Brittany Venti got involved in Tree of
Yeah.
Logic, and they were exposing him for being like his backstory is sort of sordid. And then he did a big pearl clutching I'm a victim thing when they talked about his son that had died, which wasn't his son, it was his stepson that he only knew for a couple of years or something, which is a very sad story. But anyway, there's a lot of drama around him lately. But why am I talking about him? Because I had a couple debates with him. I was sort of on Nick's side. I didn't know who he was. He was against Nick. I would debate it with him a little. I debated with his wife one time about the concept of women as property, which you saw a reiteration of that debate on Politically Provoked. Andrew didn't like me. One time when I was in a call with Ralph and me and another one of the guys on Cozy, Kai Clips, Andrew Wilson was in there, a couple other people. It was this big panel. And when I joined the call, Andrew Wilson started saying my real name. I go by Big Tech, and he started saying my legal name on the stream. And not like a slip. He was like, oh, hey, is this Mike? And everybody knows my name's Mike now, but he said my first and last name, and he said it more than once. And at that time, and the way that I took it, and the way it actually was, it was like, it was a hostile action. Like he was trying to expose my name, that he had discovered it. And he said it wasn't a dox because he found a video that I had made some years before where I had used my name, but it was on another channel in another context, and I didn't do that anymore. Nobody knew my name. Nobody knew about that old video, but somebody had discovered it, sent it to him. He's like, oh, I got him. I got his name, and I'm going to out him on there. And I took offense to that because it was an offensive move.
I think most people like doxing is like bullshit. Like the amount of doxing, like it's just like so the assholes that came after me, they not only doxed me and drove by my house and posted pictures of my house on the internet and posted my address all over the internet and all that bullshit, but they also doxed my friends. And I was like, that's going the extra mile. I mean, come on.
Well, everybody knows that that's where it leads, and that is where it did lead. And for myself, and my response to Andrew was like, hey, what the hell was that all about? And he goes, oh, it wasn't a dox. You already shared your name online. If it's already online, that's your fault. And I said, like, I said, all right, so if you're going to be a dick, well, I could be a dick too. Let's find out what I can find out about you that you've shared online. And so, in 5 minutes of searching around, me and a couple of my buddies found all sorts of stuff about him and his family. And we were talking about it in our Discord. Somebody in the Discord saw us having a conversation, leaked it to him. He shared that online as though me and my friends were like conspiring to harm him or something like that. We had talked about like maybe a prank, like can I send him like some glitter in an envelope in the mail or something like that? Like maybe now I know his address. Maybe I'll fuck with him. Maybe I can call his landline phone while he's streaming and make it ring, and that'd be funny. Maybe I could prank call him. We were talking about like goofy pranks, but he played it up like I was planning to kill him. He actually went to the police department, filed a police report against me. Cops went to my dad's house, who I'm named after, because he thought that he had my address. They went and visited my dad. Wow. It was crazy. So that was sort of like the beginning of a little bit of agitation on the platform on Cozy, because like in the very beginning of me having a channel, all of a sudden I was involved in some controversy with Andrew Wilson, which he was kvetching about endlessly and getting police involved. And eventually Nick was like, hey, Andrew Wilson is a dick and he doesn't like us, but just make sure you don't get our website in trouble and pull back a little bit. And I said, okay, yeah, that's all good. Because I was talking a little bit of a game on the site too. I was having fun. So a little bit of a rough onboarding onto Cozy. Not too long after that, there was another guy named Mr. Girl who was involved with Destiny, who was a big streamer. And Nick was having these conversations with Destiny, and they were actually going kind of well. They were frenemies. They were like best friends, but like they would debate all the time. It was kind of like a weird meme going on. Nick even went and met up with Destiny IRL one time, and they had chicken and waffles.
Nick is obsessed with Destiny.
Yeah,
it's a little weird.
He has been for a long time. Yeah, they have like an eternal like Batman and Joker kind of locked in eternal debating relationship or whatever. But at the time there was sort of like a a peak moment where they were talking more often, and Nick had been platformed a lot, and he was being allowed to come on and create content with Destiny, which was a big deal for Nick. But then there was this other third wheel in the conversation, this guy named Max Carson, goes by Mr. Girl. That's not a dox, by the way. He goes by his name too. He was one of Destiny's orbiters, and he's a Jewish fella, and he was real upset that Destiny was talking to Nick. And he was going on to Destiny's show all the time. And there was this like week or two where he was having these endless talks with Destiny about how Nick is a literal Nazi and all of Nick's friends are Nazis and they want to kill him and his family. And by platforming Nick, you're actually putting my life and my family's life and Jews in danger. And Nick is potentially going to become the president of America and kill all of us. And like he was going crazy with this like hysterical rhetoric. And so I was reviewing that and watching that take place. And at one point on one of my streams late at night, I said something like, oh, well, somebody come into my chat talking about Mr. Girl and said, hey, Big Tech, did you know that Mr. Girl has these rap videos on his site that are like extremely, they're sort of like, they're really edgy. He's like walking the line of like TOS, where he's talking about being a pedophile and he's singing about pedophilia and saying these really disgusting things in his rap songs that are intended to be sort of, well, Mr. Girl has his whole lore of why he's like that, but he's intentionally pushing the limits and walking a razor's edge there with what he's saying on their platform. And this guy came in my chat and said, hey, I reported one of his videos. The video was called I'm a Pedophile. That was the name of the video. And they said they reported the video and it got taken down. And my response to that was like, good, that guy's disgusting. He hates us. Fuck him. You should report all his videos.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, the next day, Mr. Girl lost his YouTube channel. And a clip of me saying that now gets circulated around. And everybody blames me for Mr. Girl losing his channel. They make up this concept that I had organized a mass flagging raid campaign on his channel, and which wasn't the case, but I had said that the night before, and that clip was taken in combination with the next day his channel was gone. They didn't blame him for having broken the TOS guidelines. They blamed me for organizing a raid, which didn't take place. But I did say that on my stream, so it's sort of like I also couldn't deny that I had said that. So now I got blamed for Mr. Girl losing his channel, which made Destiny really mad at Nick and Cozy. So now Destiny stopped talking, washed his hands of Nick, broke relationship with Nick. There was a big fallout that happened, and I got blamed for all of it. So now there had been this Andrew Wilson thing. Now it's the Mr. Girl lost his channel, and the Destiny Nick breakup was sort of like placed on me. And now everybody was real mad at me because they really loved the Destiny Nick content, the crossover that was happening. So from that point on, I was sort of like a little bit, not exactly on the in crowd at Cozy. And I had made waves that people didn't like. And the perception was that I had cost Nick a relationship with Destiny. And beyond that, then there were some little interpersonal things where the thing is, I actually don't really get along with Christian incels that well. Like I was trying.
This is like part of my question, because it's like, how the hell did you end up on Cozy of all places when it seems like you don't even really like these types of people? But before you answer that, hang on, because Rottweiler sent in a super chat.
Nice.
Nick is much smarter than Destiny. Destiny might have a high verbal IQ, but an average performance IQ at most, which means he's a moron in nice terms. I mean, Destiny couldn't even name all the states, so.
Real. I don't know if I could either, but I'm old. I'm an old burned out pothead. Not anymore. But I used to be. All through my 20s, I smoked too much weed and I ruined my brain, and it's over. I don't have any memory anymore.
See, I didn't smoke weed in my 20s. I started in my 30s, so, you know.
Yeah, well, I've been on a long path of recovery. I'm less retarded than I was a minute ago, but I'm still, it is what it is. I'm permanently disabled, but I'm still but at least my dick didn't fall off. But I did. I just smoked too much weed. I just blame it on that. And when I can't remember stuff, I just blame it on the weed that I smoked in my 20s. Point is, though, going back to it, I don't actually get along with Christian incels that well because I'm not an incel and not a Christian. And but I was trying to be part of the gang and like support them. And there's a lot of things in Christianity that I like, and I was just trying to see if I can like, well, I'll just be for the things that I'm for and support these guys. And but also it turned out it just didn't work. It turned out they're sort of, you know, they're just incels. They just act like that. They're sort of vindictive, angry losers. They're also very little. They like the little man syndrome thing is sort of a real thing, I think. They're just kind of like these little angry sexless guys that hate women and sort of like just want to change the world because they're dissatisfied with it.
It is shocking to me how they all look the same though. Like it really is. I mean, so Milo says, "Can we all agree to make fun of Warzel at least?" I feel like they're all short, they all look awkward, they all have like, and it's like you don't need to look a certain way to have self-esteem, but they all obviously don't have self-esteem, you know.
Yeah, and specifically within the Groypers, there's an age thing. They're very into being Zoomers and being incels. Like they have formed an identity around it. So it's like they're not only racist and sexist, but also sort of ageist. So it's like I was old, like I'm 40. I'm a dad. I'm not an incel, and I'm not short, and I'm not I'm not a Gen Z, and I'm not really one of them. Like I'm not really one of them. And I came in through Ralph, and I came in through knowing Nick through the Groyper War thing, but I didn't come in through being Catholic, and I didn't come in through being a Zoomer. And I didn't really come in through being racist, actually. I am sort of racist, but mostly because I think black people hate me. And so I don't like them because I think they want to like kill me. So I don't like people who hate me and want to hurt me and my family. I don't like those people. But they are like, they hate black people because they're black and they stink. Like they're just like, I see a black person, I hate them. That's how they are. And I'm just kind of like, those people don't like me and I don't like them back because of that. But it's not, but they have like, you know, I'm hip to, I'm aware that there's a difference in the crime statistics and there's a difference in our genetics and a difference in IQ and stuff maybe. But I also don't have actual hatred. I'm just sort of like pragmatic about the differences in the races. But many of them are like, they're defined by their racism, defined by their sexism, which comes from their sexlessness.
Yeah.
And they're defined by their age group, which is Gen Z, and they're defined by their sort of like extreme online loserness or something. And so they have congealed to support each other in there as a big old whatever.
The Groypers would get so like offended at me if I was talking about sex, and like I joke about sex like all the time. Like I tell people to mount the like button on my channel. I mean, it's not, I don't hide it, but they were like when that whole thing was happening with Nick, they were like sliding into my DMs. They were like trying to reform me. I'm like, you're 25 years old and a virgin. Like I'm not gonna listen. Sorry.
And they have that youthful vigor, really, of where they're, you know, I don't think it's a Dunning-Kruger thing, but there's something similar to that in youth where you think you know everything when you're young, and but you don't. There's a lot of unknowns. Like there's things that you've come to learn in time that you didn't know that you hadn't considered because you just hadn't been around long enough. And so the things you're very certain of at a certain age, when you're 19 to 23 or 4 or whatever, you're sure that you got it figured out because you've made it through your college and you're all grown up and you've seen the world and you're really tapped in. But then there's like, you still got a couple decades of spending time as a grown up before you're really going to like kind of see some other stuff. There's some other stuff that can only be known through time. Yeah. And that's how it seems to me. So that part's missing, and that's just the foolish. It's a little bit, makes them a little bit foolish. It doesn't mean that they're unintelligent, or even that they don't know stuff that I like. A lot of times I'm learning stuff from them, and that can be that way with the youth absolutely. But there is something where there's, I think what comes back out of that is sort of a resentment of those with some age, where I'll be a little bit chill about some things, or a little bit, I'll have a different perspective than them that I can't exactly share. Like, I just can't give you 20 years of experience,
Yeah.
and I can't explain why my perspective is what it is. I just have to wait for you to be 40 and then you'll maybe get it, like, young man. But that seems condescending to them, and they just want to say, screw you, old loser. We know what's right. And so there was a little bit of a
It's
thing
it
there.
it's so true though, because like I look back on how I was in my, like I feel like and I saw this when I was doing a lot of corporate stuff too, is that people who are in their 20s, they want to act like they try to act like what they think like people in their 40s should act like, but when they get into their 40s, they start acting more like they were in their 20s. Like a lot of people will age mentally in reverse. And I feel like I was like, like in their 20s, they want to show up all professionally and they want to have all the like perfect clothes and like all this stuff. And then everyone runs out of F's to give in their 40s. And I feel like
Yep.
it's kind of the same thing.
I might be right there. I may be right at that point.
Oh, I'm at that point. I passed that point a
Yeah,
while
yeah, I may be
ago.
right at that spot that you're talking about. Yep. And it's sort of a relief. It's kind of nice. I'm looking forward to be just like being a nasty old man who doesn't give a fuck. I think I'm sliding right into that zone. It's going to be cool.
I love triggering them though, because it's so fun because they think you should act in a certain way. And it's like when you grow up, you're going to learn there really aren't rules. You get to decide what rules you follow, young man.
Mm. All right, so that's sort of the story. That's why there was a lot of stuff that went down. So later on, then, so that's the vibe that was established. The way I see it on Cozy was that I was in, but not exactly. Um, when I did something cool, they were glad I was around. But if I did something they didn't like, they were ready to all just like absolutely gang up and say "fuck you" to me,
Mm-hmm.
and because I wasn't exactly part of the in crowd, because I didn't really belong there, to be honest. Because
Yeah.
again, I wasn't a Zoomer, wasn't an incel. I sort of resonate with that, like, because I'm a divorced dad who my kids are like teenagers, and I'm also not dating, and I'm not out there trying to get laid, and so and I'm not an incel. I'm a, like, they would call it a volcel or old cell or something. Like, I am celibate, so I am
Mm-hmm.
sort of like them, but they're celibate because they're dysgenic little manlets and they can't get laid, and also because all the girls in their generation are TikTok whores, and also they all have porn brain, and there's all these reasons going on why these guys just can't get it together. And me, it's like I already did that, and now I'm just enjoying being an old man. And so, but I'm sort of on the other side where there is a crossover though, like that. I i have my own criticism of women that comes from my experience with them. They have a criticism of women because of what they've seen on the internet, or because of the, the Gen Z girls are all
Mm-hmm.
whatever brain they have now. um I have a different perspective, coming through a rocky marriage and then a divorce and then custody
Mm-hmm.
battle. Like, I've been through all of that. That informs my sort of, if I have hostility toward women, and the arrangement between men and women, it comes from. But so there was an overlap, but it wasn't exactly the same thing. So I sort of fit, but I sort of didn't. And later on, then, what you saw though with the Naptown thing,
Mm-hmm.
where it gets documented that I became like an adversarial force among them, was during the Kanye West thing, when Nick went around with Kanye, and then the fallout that happened after that. There was a scandal that arose because it was revealed that there was like a homosexual predator that had been given a
I
cozy channel.
Yeah. Can I tell you, I felt so
Yeah.
validated by that because I hated Ali Alexander from the get-go. I met Ali Alexander back in 2020, and like I was involved with the Walkaway campaign, and Walkaway was involved with like Stop the Steal and all that stuff. And I refused to get involved with it because I was like, Ali Alexander is a scumbag. I'm not going anywhere near that asshole. And I was the only one that said that, and I was later vindicated, and I felt pretty good about that.
Wow. Nice. Well, I didn't know anything about him
Yeah.
until, I mean, I had heard his name before, and then he had a cozy channel. And I talked to him a few times, and I was giving him sort of like, I was extending some respect and trust to him, because, like, vicariously through the respect and trust that I saw that he had with Nick and the other guys in the group. And so I was like, oh, there's this guy here. He's got a big name. I'm looking into his, oh, he's involved in all this stuff. He's sort of like, he's known, he's an entity, and now he's a streamer here. I'm getting to know him. He recommended a book on Catholicism that I should read, that I read, and it was actually kind of like very interesting to me, and I had to talk with him about it here and there. So I felt like it kind of hit me when all of a sudden all this stuff came out about him being a homosexual who had a history of predating upon like teenage boys in the conservative movement. And then all these screen cap leaks came out that not only were just like outrageous, but they were also years old. And I found out that everybody already knew about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's when I was like, I couldn't accept it. I said, I just can't accept this. I can't accept that. That's unacceptable. And since I already had a lot of beef with the guys that were being sort of like personally antagonistic toward me on Cozy, I took that as an opportunity to like let's throw this in their face. I did a stream about how one of them knew about this all the way back years ago, and I pulled up the video of him talking about it. And this guy knew, and he was just like sweeping it under the rug because he was helping Nick. Like, whoa, what else is going on? And then Nick told the story about what was going on with him and Kanye in LA. And then he tells the story about how he spent the night in a hotel room with Milo Yiannopoulos, which I thought it just blew my mind that nobody thought that was weird. And I was talking about that. And then everybody started coming at me saying that I was calling Nick gay, which is like a big deal that Nick always deals with. People have been calling him gay for years.
I've called Nick gay 20 or 30 times on the internet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I understand the implication, but what I was saying is that it's like generally, it just seems irresponsible. It just seems like irresponsible and weird. It's just like an odd choice for a young millionaire to be bunking up in a hotel room with a single bed with Milo Yiannopoulos, who's not only a famous, flamboyant gay man, drug addict, and scammer. Like he's like one of the most popular, clips of Milo that goes around is him holding up this orange hard drive and calling it the vault and saying that he has blackmail info on everybody he's ever worked with and everybody in Washington. And he's got, it's like, you're going to go spend the night in a room with a blackmailer who's gay and there's a single bed. And then Nick was telling the story about how Milo offered him pills earlier that day or something. And I'm like, Nick, what are you doing? And then the Ali thing, and Ali has a channel, and then all of this came to light all of a sudden. And man, when I did a stream talking about it and saying, what the fuck is going on? They all started coming at me. And that's when Ralph came at me. That's the first time that Ralph, I think it was the first time, but he did a stream about me saying, fuck big tech, get him off Cozy, get him out of here. And he was mad that I wasn't sweeping all that under the rug because that's what he was doing. And Ralph felt like I owed him, which I really I did because like, as I just explained to you, I came up through Ralph and his show, but he took that as that like he sort of owns me more than I owe him. It's more like he owns me. That's how he was treating it. And that I had to do anything he told me to do or not do, or else he had every right to fucking take away everything I have or something. And I was like, well, just because you're making the wrong choice doesn't mean I got to do it. And he's like, well, then fuck you. It's war. And I was like, okay, so now I'm at war with Ralph and I was at war with everybody else. And that's what you watched. There was like a saga that went on that lasted weeks on Cozy where I was streaming every day and I was at war with everybody there. And I was right. That's the thing is like I was right and they were mad that I was saying what I was saying because they were all not doing it out of an act of loyalty to Nick. They were all keeping quiet and spinning the situation and sweeping it and trying to quiet it down, treating it like it was no big deal. And to be honest, it didn't have to be the end of the world, but they wanted me to be complicit in this thing that I was very uncomfortable with. And the fact that I wasn't, they took that as a reason to like attack and defame like really bad. Like you mentioned Wurzelroot the other day. He was like bringing up my family and my kids on his stream and like going personal attack mode. Ralph too. Ralph doxed my wife and my kids and pictures of them with their new stepdad. and stuff that he took off Facebook, and he made a video of it and put it on his Telegram, shared it to everybody. They just went like really, really nasty attack mode on me. And so that's and it spun out into that, to where Nick eventually had to create a new terms of service for the site where people aren't allowed to talk negatively about the other streamers there. And it was the first implementation of anything that wasn't like perfect free speech. It used to be a Wild West. This is the last place on the internet where it's totally free speech. We've all been canceled off everywhere. We're having conversations that are sort of illegal. And that's what's great about Cozy, is that you can be here and tell the truth, unless it's about Nick.
Well, that's what,
or the other streamers.
And like that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, because I look for like patterns and things, and I'm interested in like just like how like the same kind of things will repeat themselves across multiple people. And I had kind of a similar experience with well, not only just being excommunicated from a group, but like there was this one woman that she was like a moderator on r/conservative or whatever, and back when my story kind of like went viral on the internet, she made this big deal about getting me like an AMA on r/conservative, and I didn't really care about doing any of this stuff, but like she was really pestering me to do it. And so then I did it, and it was fine and everything went well. But then she thought that because she got me like an AMA on what she perceived to like be a big thing, she then owned me and can control everything I said. And during like it was so weird to be like, because I never thought I would be around politics or anything like that. But when I was doing the walkaway stuff, I was all of a sudden like in the political world around all of like these big names, and they make it very clear to you like what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say to stay in the good graces. And so for the entirety of 2020, I was basically like traveling around every single weekend doing rallies all over the country, trying to like, we were basically the only people doing rallies to try to like talk about COVID and stuff like that. And I was trying to get Democrats to leave the Democratic Party and vote for Trump and all that. And I was like, there is a greater good here, and the greater good is Trump, and I need to keep my mouth shut about a lot of the bullshit that I see, because there is a greater good here, and like, don't F it up now. Of course, that didn't go the way that anyone wanted it to go. But after Biden got into office, I was kind of like, F you guys, you're not going to control my speech anymore. And this woman from r/conservatives kept pestering me like all the goddamn time. Like, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? And I basically like, I told her like, don't control what I say. I don't really care. And then I ended up blocking her on Twitter. And then she became like, made another account, started pestering me again. And I blocked that account too. She, to this day, is one of the most insane stalkers I have online, posts about me like every day. It's been almost 4 years since my original article went viral. And it's just like, the people on the internet about this stuff, they get crazy possessive. And then if you don't do what they want you to do, they lose it in really just like, I never knew that this type of world existed, honestly, before I got into this.
Yeah, I found out about it too after I got in. I learned about. I had no idea what I was getting to. I had I had only been exposed to the tip of the iceberg, you could say. I knew that it was, I didn't know it. I can't say that I didn't know it was like hostile and sort of dangerous, and there was. But boy, like it was a real shock. Same thing.
Yeah.
I learned how obsessive and petty and nasty that people can be, and it's everywhere, man. It's like I've even got. Well, I won't get into it, but man, they just really are. There's just like these extremely online, hyper political. Like their identity is so sewed up in their agenda. Like there's just like real problem there. So they're like massively egotistical, and not just about that they're great or something, like a typical egotism as in like I'm the best or something, but really if you challenge their agenda or their position, or you don't give them the respect that they think that they have earned by supporting you or something like that, they take it so personal, and now it's like, you have offended me and I have the right to obliterate you. And that's how they do it.
Yeah. It's crazy though, and it's just like I see like all these different communities. It's almost like it's like attracts like toxic people are going to attract toxic people. I guess I just never had any idea about like how toxic some people were. I mean, I had this own little bubble that I created for myself before all this. I was just doing corporate training. I wrote a book about mindfulness. I was like, I want to see the best in people. I was doing corporate coaching and stuff like that. So it was literally my job to see the best in people. And when I got thrown into this, it was so like, I was so out of water. I had no idea how to deal with it. And I feel like with the people that are into this stuff, I was around a bunch of people who really wanted to be influencers, who wanted to be famous, who wanted to be on all these shows and do all these like podcasts and stuff like that. And they got so jealous of me because like I just had it basically all handed to me and I never actually really wanted it. And so they came at me as soon as they could. And I was like, I had no idea people like this in the world existed. And it was really
Mm.
blackpilling, to be honest. I was like, have I completely misjudged all of humanity?
Yo, I totally understand that. I mean, you're almost taking the words out of my mouth. What I was thinking about saying
Mm-hmm.
next is like I had a similar thing. I had very high hopes, or I had like a sort of like a beautifully naive concept of what I would do with my stream. I thought I was like helping. I thought
Yeah.
I was going to be
Yeah.
a positive influence. I thought I had some things to share. I thought like, hey, I'll come and add my 2 cents, and like maybe I've made some, like, I've learned some lessons in my life many times through mistakes that I made that I can help other people avoid. Like I can have something to give back, and I don't know, like I and bro, after a while, it can be like you said, very black pill. It's discouraging. Like the sheen and the shimmer that used to be on this idea of like what I could do in the stream. I even have people that are disappointed in me now, and I understand. Like many of them that supported me early on, that were like, "Hey, we love what you're doing. It's so cool that you're here, part of this group. We need a guy with your type of vibe for these younger guys." There's you have like a way about you and a lot of wisdom to share, and I think this will be really good for the gang. It'll there's it'll broaden the sort of like it's something nice to add. It, I don't feel that way anymore. And many of them are like, how come you're not trying to do any of that content anymore? Honestly, the wind like went out the sails. Like it's been poisoned, and it's really hard, difficult to overcome that. To feel hopeful or to even want to pitch into the conversation. I don't want to hear anybody talk about politics ever again. Is how I feel. I don't want to hear about their agendas. I want them to. I don't want to help them do better. I don't want to refine them. I want to see them fail.
Oh
That's how
yeah.
I feel now. And it's like these people who I used to want to help and I used to want to encourage, I want to see them like they're just so, like you said, they're so toxic. And it is I self-reflect. I go like, wow, man, am I just like giving into the darkness rather than being the light that I wanted to shine? Has it just been snuffed out? And it might actually just be the case. Like, and you gotta just accept it for what it is. That was just too much, too tall of an order. But I found out that these people are actually like, they're sort of like wicked. Like many of them are just very wicked sons of bitches, and it's many of
Mm-hmm.
like the leading voices are just wretched motherfuckers. Like, and
Yeah.
I like, oh, I thought they were. I didn't know I was in a gang like that. And now I don't want to like help make their gang better. I want to just be as far away from it as I can, and I hope they fucking fail because they're bad. They're like bad
Oh yeah.
guys. They're not
No,
good.
I
So
had
fuck them.
exactly the same thing. I like it was like so like I wrote this article just like that went viral on the internet about being a Democrat that went to a Trump rally, and I just posted on like Medium or something, and I didn't think anyone would ever read it, and then like 3 days later, like 4 million people had read it, and Don Trump Jr. had like tweeted it. I was like on Fox News and all this stuff, and I started getting all of these messages from people over like every single platform saying, your story inspired me, that my like I can reconnect with my family again because we've gotten in
Mm,
all these fights and all this stuff. And so I'm like, over here and I'm like doing like mindfulness training in workplaces. And I was like, oh shit, like I can serve like humanity by telling a story of like people can change their minds, people can like reconnect, they can see things differently. And I had all these like, I mean, thousands and thousands of messages from people saying that that was valuable. And I was like, I mean, I believe like I'm really spiritual, and I think that I told people at the time, I didn't think that I wrote that article. I thought it was channeled through me because it was one of those things where I wrote like a 2,000 word article in like 20 minutes just because it was just like I needed to write it, and I couldn't figure out I was trying to work on other stuff, and I just like had to sit down and do it. So I was like, I'm on this like spiritual journey, like this is a message I'm supposed to share with everyone, all this stuff, and I felt an obligation to do that. And then it was like, it was also COVID. And so, like, what else was I going to do at the time? Because all my corporate training stuff had basically gotten canceled or it all gotten virtual or stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, well, this is obviously what the universe wants of me. So why don't I go do this? And I was so naive about it because I was like, I thought that the people that I was connecting to kind of had the same thing. And they all talk a good game and they're like, yeah, we got this mission. We got to get Trump elected and like all this stuff. And the Democrats are crazy and like everything's going to go to hell if we don't get them elected. So I was around all these people all the time that were just like reinforcing, like, you're fighting the good fight, blah, 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 like whatever. And they were also like, we're going to take care of you. We're going to protect you and like all this stuff. And then as soon as Biden got into office, like everything changed. And I was like, and then everyone started showing their true colors. And I started seeing it really, really early. And I started calling it out in 2020, like early 2021. I was like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. And people just got so pissed at me. They're like, how dare you air our dirty laundry? And I wasn't even like airing anything private. I was just saying, you guys are being retarded. You're going to drive a lot of people away. This is stupid. Why are we spending more time fighting each other than we are fighting the left? Because that's actually the problem. And it was just like, people got so pissed. And because, I don't like being told what to do. And so every time someone told me, you can't say that, I was like, well, I'll show you, motherfucker. Like, I'll say whatever I want to say and you can deal with it. You can have all the feelings you want. And so I just kept doubling down and basically made like shitting on conservatives into an art form. But it was just like, it was funny to watch all of the people that were pro free speech, were pro fighting the left, were pro exposing all this stuff, all of a sudden turned into,
Yeah.
crazy people right in front of my eyes. And it was actually like really disturbing to me to watch too, because some of them got so toxic and so bad. I was just like, it's like a mind virus on the other side.
It is, man, and they don't hold it together. They have a lot of, yeah, I don't know. There's, it's coming to mind. You might remember the part where, there was like a final struggle session with Nick,
Yeah.
where the final line that sort of like broke the camel's back, for me. I was like, I was willing to, I was really rooting for Nick to. I still had hope. Like I said, I was there to see people grow, and I didn't expect everybody to be perfect, but I expected them to be moving in the right direction. And that's the trust that I had in Nick, because he was a young guy. And like we talked about before, there's certain things you can't know until you've just, like, time teaches you. There's things that time teaches you that you can't know until you've spent time. You just, and Nick does have a bit of wisdom beyond his years. And many people would say that. And that does seem to be the case with Nick. And I saw that in him. So that gave me, I was willing to be very trusting. Like he says, trust the plan a lot. But like my plan was like to trust that Nick is sort of a little bit wise beyond his years, but also he's moving in the right direction. So the things that he's short on, he's going to come up into a better version of himself through time. And that's sort of how I saw myself. Is like, I'll ride with Nick, and if I can be part of his journey to be the eventual final form that he's moving into. He doesn't have to be everything right now as a young guy. He has a potential that I want to see come to fruition. And I saw him get faced with some things, and make the right move. Like, he was hit with some challenges, and I saw the way he was negotiating them. And every time that he was tested, he passed. And I kept being impressed by him. The one that he failed on, which wasn't, it wasn't just because of this. It wasn't just one fail and I'm out on the guy. But when he said, to me in that final thing, he was like, the way I see that is that I want people who are like loyal to me. And when he explained loyalty, it was literally like a gangster mob type of loyalty. Like, we're in a crime family. And I came to see that that's the way he's thinking about it, is that, like, if I show up to your house, he says, here's how I'm with my friends. If they show up to my house with a body in the trunk and they say, get the flashlights and the shovel, we're going to bury this body. I say, okay. And I go with them and we bury that body. And I might say what happened, but there's no way I would ever turn my buddy in. And there's no way I would say no. I would just ride with him, because I expect the same from him. If I need him to help me bury a body, I'm coming to his house, and there's no question. We're doing it. And that's what it is. And that either you're that with me or you're out. And I was like, well, I'm not like doing crimes with you. Like, not like that. And so if we're talking about like thought crimes or something, like we're having, unacceptable conversations about forbidden topics, that's one thing. Um, but if you're talking about like you're doing some scandalous shit and you want me to just be complicit with that, and that's your version of loyalty, no, like that's I'm not doing that. And because first of all, I'm not actually in a crime family with you, and that's sort of like that I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that with dissident right wingers. I'm not doing that with anybody, especially if you're not like actually paying my bills. If you're giving me a territory, like if am I in a crime family with you? Well, then you can have that type of loyalty with me. Have you killed people for me? Have I killed people for you? Well, then fine. But it's not like that. He's like living in a fantasy, and he said that that's his version of loyalty. But to me, it's like if you want to have true loyalty with people, loyalty is a feeling. Loyalty is actually like an affection that you have, and it's not an undying loyalty comes from like a deep love that you have for somebody, and that comes usually through witnessing like righteousness in another person, and by seeing them be brave, courageous, like they're suffering for the cause or something like that. You can inspire loyalty in people by being great. And Nick does quite a bit of that, actually. He is sort of like a courageous person and has gone through a lot. I got to give him that. But loyalty is not something that you get to demand. It's not a carrot and a stick situation unless you actually have a fucking stick, unless it is actually at the end of a gun, unless we are actually in this and there's blood on the line. You can't do that or you're just LARPing. And it turned out that he's just LARPing as a gangster, and he wants to have like this mob boss authority over people. And that's really what he was expressing openly on that stream. He's like, yeah, I want you to see me as like, I'll actually like do crimes for you, and I'll lie for you, and if you do something bad, I'll say you didn't, and we'll just do all these deals together, and we'll just make compromises to help each other rise. Okay, well then you're exactly like all the scumbags in Washington. Then like that's kind of like the problem with our system is it runs on that type of corruption and that type of complacency. People will be complicit with crimes, and people will sweep scandal under the rug, and they'll end up doing deals with notorious predatory homosexuals. Ollie Alexander, Milo Yiannopoulos. Who else is Nick making deals with? What other kind of scandalous stuff are people sweeping for him? I don't know. Like that just engendered all sorts of doubt for me and him. And he's like, I want you to trust me completely. But also, I want you to know that the deal is if you're with me, you're willing to lie for me and pretend for me and deceive for me. And it's like, oh, that's what your gang is? It's full of people who are going to lie and deceive for you? Well, then how can I trust you? He's like, well, just trust that we're going to win. Well,
I think
I don't think you are going to win is the problem.
Yeah, no, we're all irreparably effed, I think. I think that watching what's going to happen to Nick between now and when like Nick is, 32, 33, 34 is going to be interesting. I think he's going to change. I think for the I mean, he's 25. Like you have to give him some license for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I am giving him that, but if that's the demand that he has right now, it's like I can't agree to. I can't acquiesce to that. I can't say, yeah, okay, sure, I'll lie for you, I'll deceive for you, I'll sweep for you, I'll bury bodies for you, I'll do crimes for you. Like, no, young man, no, sir, sorry, you're gonna have to, if you have to come up beyond that. And now it's like now he's doubling, like tripling down on the Catholic LARP thing, and he's basically, I think it's sad he's becoming like a televangelist, man. I was saying it last night on my stream. We were listening to him. And he's getting to the point where he's seeing less option for a political solution. The Trump flame is dwindling, and now he's just going full blown, forget it. It's just Jesus. Jesus is going to save the day. We're going to like get empowered by God to fight a holy war against our antichrist enemy, the Jews or something. It's like, dude, okay. He's going into a kooky territory. But you're right. It is going to be, over the next 10 years, a lot happens in 10 years for sure. And we're going through a massive time of change. We're going to go through some wars, and we're going through like an AI revolution. We're going to go through a lot of things. So he's going to grow. And so I have that hope in everybody. But for right now, I don't see any place to plant a flag.
Oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So apparently Badger was spamming the chat, and Sin timed him out. Badger's also been trying to get me to talk to him, and I don't want to do that either. Let's see. Bot says she retained the like button semen. Excellent. Thank you, Bot. Potato, is this actually Potato's YouTube account? Like, Potato added me to his Discord today and then started harassing me to come talk to him.
Oh, big surprise.
Okay, so like when Ethan Ralph started coming at you over the Nick stuff, like were you guys like friends at that point?
Yeah. I mean, friends is we were internet associates, I guess.
Mhm.
Like we were on friendly terms for sure. Yeah. Yeah. There was no problem. I was still doing appearances on his show from time to time, and I went to a live event that he had hosted.
The wrestling thing?
Yeah, the wrestling. I went to Ralphomania in Atlantic City. I flew across the country to go be a part of his thing and support him
Wow.
there. And yeah, and so there was no problem, like literally no problem, up until I think he was less friendly toward me than I felt toward him at that point, and while he watched me, I had some scuff ups with some other streamers, some of the ones that are sort of like, there's a couple characters. I don't need to name names. Everybody who knows the story knows the story. I don't even need to bring them up, but there was some little feuding that went on between me and a couple other guys here and there over the pettiest issues. But like these guys were just, it was odd. It was like high school drama type stuff. And I found myself being sort of like the new kid from another school. That's what it felt like.
Mhm.
Like that's the analogy. I'm a new kid from another school and there's like a clique and I don't really fit in and I'm like dealing with flack. Or like the new guy at a prison is even like another analogy. It's like if somebody steps to you and they call you a bitch, you got to fight them or else you are a bitch. So I felt like I kept having to fight these guys because they kept kind of like trying to punk me. And these are like young men who like talk like this and they're like, yeah, like these little incel losers. And it's like, you're trying to punk me on air, dude. Like we're going to fight, I guess. And then I think Ralph didn't like that because Ralph kind of had co-signed on me to get there, and he really depended on Cozy in that community, and he was like, and his sort of brand is to be very neutral, positive toward anybody who's on his side, and neutral toward anybody who was willing to participate on his show. And if I was in a feud with somebody else, he couldn't back me. And if he would had somebody who he had known longer than me coming on and talking shit or something like that, he sort of had to side with them because he had a longer history with them. Maybe they had more clout than me. And he didn't like that I was sort of bringing him into these things that he sort of had co-signed on me, and now I'm fighting with people who he was friends with. So he had a little bit of there was a growing dissatisfaction with me from that point and I think he wanted me to sort of just be an ancillary entity that supported his show and do what he's doing. Don't make waves. Just I gave you a shot here, kid. So now you got to like make profits for me. It's sort of how he saw me.
Mhm.
He's like somebody he sort of owned. But the problem is like I'm a 40-year-old man. Like I'm not your like bitch, dude. Like I don't work for you. You're not my pimp. Like what do you think this is? I'm older than you. Like and you're a joke. Like all respect to the showman for being funny and like a guy who sticks in it. And Ralph is like a powerful high level as far as like internet clout, he's like the most famous lolcow and also and a powerful showman in his own right. Don't get me wrong. He has a talent that has allowed him to be who he is. Like I don't take anything I'm saying to be like a diminishment of Ralph's force, but I'm not somebody who's in his stable as somebody he owns. It's like I also see him as a funny character in like a ridiculous scene. So while I respect that he's good at playing that character, he's also a joke, like with a big giant flabby gut and like a big drunk and on pills and court drama. And like he's just like a part of who he is that he's like a giant burnout that just won't stop. And so I'm not that. Like that's not I'm not a part of that. So like it was weird. It was a weird relationship. I was trying to just be myself. Like I'm not trying to fit into his fucked up world. I came in through that, but it created an issue. So whatever.
I mean,
guess that's all I have to say about it.
no, I guess I was thinking like, I mean, one of the other things I think that you and I have kind of in common is like people perceive that we're getting in all these fights with people, and it's just like I feel like a lot of the times like it's been internet people like coming at me, and oftentimes like I didn't even know who they were half the time, and then all of a sudden they're making a video about me or doing like whatever, and then as soon as I speak up and say this is bullshit for reason X, Y, B, and Z, all of a sudden I become the bad guy that's like fighting with everyone. And the proof that I'm the bad guy is that I'm fighting with everyone. But I'm like, I was sitting over here trying to do my stuff and you guys started coming at me. And I feel like I've seen that kind of happen with you too, with like everyone coming at you at the same time. And then all of a sudden it's like big tech is the bad guy because he's fighting with everyone. Well, it's like, but like if you're coming at me, like I'm going to speak up and defend myself at some point.
Yeah, that's just how it goes. And it was unfortunate. One of the first people who came at me on Cozy was somebody who wasn't on Cozy, and it was one of Ralph's oldest friends, most respected. This guy Andrew Anglin, who writes the Daily Stormer.
Mm.
I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's like an old legend in that sphere. He was like one of the original internet racists or something like that. He was like the most extreme, deplatformed from everywhere. He's like an influencer of the influencers in that sphere. I didn't like I knew of him and that's about it. But he had a real problem with me at one point early on. And he's like, I don't know if Ralph would call him an idol or something, but he was like a cornerstone of Ralph's clout is his relationship with Anglin. He loved the guy, had him on. He would always hype up every time that he was going to have him on the show. It was like a big special guest, like an honored guest of the show, this guy. And he had a big problem with me early on because of that thing that I told you about Destiny, Mr. Girl and stuff. He had written up a big old article about how badly that had affected Nick. And he had a whole forum. He has this chat forum where they were discussing how mad they were at me for the snafu that had jeopardized Nick. And they were criticizing Nick for bringing me on because I was somebody who was, it was almost like I had made an obvious misstep that they thought they should have known to not make or something like that. And it cost Nick a connection, and Nick is foolish by bringing too many people onto his new website. And like they had this massive overreaction, which maybe even some of that is true, but there was so much gossip. Like this guy went at like massive gossip mode about me for like a week, and it was affecting me, and I'm hearing about it from everybody. So one day I did a stream like reacting to it. I read walls of text he had been writing about me and all this stuff. And then that turned into a real big problem. Ralph was mad about that. Ralph and other people on the site were mad at me because they were siding with him. Like, how dare you even question Andrew Anglin? He's like a god among men. And if he has something to say about you, you fucking say, you just take it. And, you know, if he's slapping you, you deserve to be slapped. And you just, it was like, okay, this guy's unhinged. He's like insane. And also the stuff he was saying about me was wrong. He was coming up with conspiracy theories about me being like a cop and a Fed and part of a cult. And I'm like and he discovered some things about my past. He started like developing this concept that I was actually an infiltrator with a desire to take it down. And I was probably half the people in my chat aren't even real. They're like outsiders that are running covert ops with like fake names. And he was going nuts and I was laughing at it. And it turned into this big fiasco. Nick even had to come and intervene and like make peace and like squash the whole thing at one point. Other streamers were streaming about me, streaming about him. And it was like this whole big thing. Boy, man, that was early on in the whole thing. So yeah, it was sort of like, it was destined to be a problem. And Ralph was enduring all of that. And he wasn't happy about it. He didn't know all that was going to happen either, but it was sort of like he had brought me in and it ended up sort of biting him in the ass. And it was what it was. I mean, what are you going to do?
Do you think it might be one of those things though, where like they're going to go after someone and it's like you just happen to be the person that's there, but as soon as you're taken out of the equation, it's like they go after someone else and then someone else after that, and then it becomes like a circular firing squad. I mean, that's kind of what's happened with the people that were just, you know, stalking me is when you know, when I kind of just started doing the socialism stuff and got completely out of what they were talking about, they just started firing at each other after that, and then I get to sit back and kind of watch all of them fail and like destroy each other because it's just an outrage addiction in the first place.
Yeah, that does still happen actually. It's like if you develop a group of guys that are organized around an attack. It's like if you organize an army it's like trying to maintain a standing army that doesn't have an enemy, or the enemy's far away or something like that, or they can't really, or they get hungry for a win. You got to deliver them victories. You got to be constantly delivering that army victories, or those men are going to start looking for somebody to conquer. And they're going to end up raping and pillaging the nearby villages, even those that you're at peace with, or they're going to start fighting amongst each other. And then your top guys are going to end up getting slayed by each other, or they'll start factioning, and one of your generals will take something in a different direction and you'll lose control. Something like that. You got to constantly be delivering that army like the spoils of war, like, because that's what they're there for. And Nick started his thing like I came in around the Groiper War thing. And that's how he came onto my radar. Like, there's some activity. This guy's fighting. These guys are fighting. And it's cool. It's fun. There's energy. It's vigorous. I like that. And then not long after that, it's sort of like, it turned into this thing where it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what's even going on? And it sort of activated again during the Kanye thing. That was a little confusing because now these racist incels are like worshiping this black sex god. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, he's like the most famous black, fornicator in the world or something like that with the Kardashians and stuff. And they're white identitarian incel Christians. And it was a little bit, okay, how does the Kardashians help us win the culture war? It's like, doesn't really make sense. And then, but it's like they're dogs looking for a bone to chew on, and then they end up chewing on each other. And then it becomes like I said, if I'm the outsider or the new guy in the prison block or something like that, they're all looking to test themselves. And I don't shy away from a fight either, not just because of machismo or something like that. It's like, it's fun. I enjoy conflict too. And again, that's what got me there. So when they would want to step and they want to try to punk me. It's like, oh, okay, it's on. Like, touche, let's go. And then people would be like, well, how dare you? You're attacking this guy. It's like, well, wait a minute. It's only supposed to go one way. They're just looking for somebody to shit on. They're looking to like establish the pecking order and looking for me to submit so that they can establish the hierarchy of who's in charge and who has more clout and your role and stuff. And I was like, that's not why I want to get on your weird little click website. That's cringe. But that's what it turned into. So yeah, they are sort of eating each other. And now they have no energy either. Now it's sort of like they established the new terms of service where they're not allowed to fight with each other. They're only allowed to fight with other people on the outside, but nobody cares about them. So their attacks are impotent. You can attack people on YouTube. You can attack. Who are they going to attack now? They're going to attack Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is fucking winning. Ben Shapiro, from the time Nick started attacking him to now, Ben's only 10 times bigger. So he hasn't made any progress with that. Nick is like nitpicking at Bronze Age pervert and these other sort of obscure people. Nick had a glow up with the Kanye thing. Then that fell away. He got destroyed by Milo. Kanye just released his most vulgar album to date, like last week. It's just like they're just taking lots of L's, and now so they're starting to like I said, they're turning into just like they're reverting to just actual Catholicism. They're just becoming like a group of like lonely Catholics that they're just hanging around and they're just praying for Jesus to save the day. And they're like, well, if we can't fight the culture war, we can fight the spiritual war. We'll just become actually, truly spiritual. And they're all wearing crosses with crucifixes, and they're going to RCIA, and they're updating each other on their Bible reading and their prayer. And they're just sitting around talking about Jesus all day. And Nick's movement is, I don't know what it is. It's a big fundraiser for him, and he's making more money than ever, it seems too. But that's what the Jesus grift does. Really being God is going to do this for us really gets people to open their wallets. And that's why I'm saying he's basically becoming a televangelist.
Yeah. And none of them are even really Catholic. I mean, it's all fakery. Like, none of them act like Catholics. They don't act like they believe in anything.
Yeah. Well, that's something interesting I didn't know about Catholics is that Catholicism is different. Like, I was raised in Christianity. Like, my parents met at church. And I was raised going to church every Sunday. And I was in youth group as a teenager. Like, I believed in Jesus until 9/11 was the first time I ever questioned Christianity, because I was like, wait a minute. Those guys have faith like that to kill themselves in planes, they told me. Do I even have that much faith? How do I know I'm right and they're wrong? And I started looking into it. And then I was also grown up and I looked at it with new eyes, and I had just believed it because everybody I knew believed it. I was around Christians, and I thought I was just a privileged person and it needed to share the good news with everybody else. These poor bastards don't know that Jesus loves them and there's a God and stuff. And so I was all in. And and it was like all the people I knew and trusted believed, and they were all very kind and sweet as well. And I really liked it. I was like, this is a nice vibe. Everybody's cool. There's cute girls at youth group. Like, everything's great. I liked it. And, church was great, a little boring sometimes, but like, that's the worst complaint. But even the music was cool. Hey, everybody hanging out and singing together is a vibe. I like it. When people sing together, especially something about like love and God is cool and we're winning and everything's epic. Like, that's what they're singing about at church. Who doesn't like that? It's cool. And everybody dresses up and the girls smell good. And it's like, damn, it's like, it rules. Well, then I came to find out that Catholics are different. Catholics do this thing that's like, my impression of Catholicism is this understanding that it's not really about being anything other than a Catholic. It's not really like this idea about being Christian where there's like virtue and goodness and love and kindness and kind of like being like Jesus. Like the Christianity I was raised with is where you're like a disciple of Christ. Like, Christ had disciples. He also had apostles, which is like the 12. Well, you call them the 12 disciples, and you had apostleship that started with Peter and stuff. But the 12, like the key disciples, but he still had like followers, and like the discipleship goes from those guys to everybody else. And we're all coming up into being like, we're supposed to be like Jesus told us to be. That's what I thought Christianity was. Like, to be the things that he said, like in his Sermon on the Mount, like, be this way and be that way. And you'll be blessed if you're like this. And don't do this, do this instead. And I was like, wow, these are like really great. I thought that's what Christianity was. And also, and if you get drawn into that and believing in him as God delivering you these divine commands, and then see that God also paid the final price for even all of your shortcomings, and that's a beautiful gift he gave on top of these divine teachings, and you get to go to heaven with him, I thought Christianity is amazing. Well, the Catholics do it a little different. The Catholics are like, if you're in the gang, you're good. Mm-hmm. And if you do the sacraments, take the Eucharist, which is communion, if you eat the bread and drink the wine, and you say the prescribed prayers, and you confess your sins to a priest who can intercede for you, you can be absolved, and you don't commit the bad mortal sins that send you to hell, you can be saved to go to heaven. But the understanding is that everybody's a piece of shit. The saints are special, they're epic, and it's mainly that they are like so extremely faithful and tapped in on God's like theological concepts and stuff, but they can be like very charitable or very patient or very wise or something like that. But the thing with Catholics is to just always believe and don't break the rules, which means like, don't blaspheme, don't commit mortal sin without repenting, don't sin against like the doctrines of the church. And you're like in a gang, you're in a club that Jesus started. Like, Catholicism is like a gang that Jesus started, and this gang goes to heaven, and everybody else who's not in the gang is fucked. And even some people in the gang who weren't good enough gang members, they're fucked too. Only if you're good enough at being in the gang, then you get to go to heaven. And that's the gift of Catholicism. And also the byproduct is that gang hopefully is going to end up ruling the world. One fucking big ass gang that's going to kill all the other gangs. That's kind of what Catholicism is. So getting to know Catholics, I found out they venerate the religion, the church, the teachings, the doctrines, the figures, the Pope, the bishops, the nuns. They venerate those people, the gang leaders, and they consider their affiliation with the gang to be of utmost value and importance to them. It's like an egoic identity that they have. But way down on the list, except for some of the like zealous converts who are like new to it, down on the list for the Catholics is actually like being like Christ. Yeah, like, that's way low. Like, the idea of actually being Christian was what I like, having Christian virtue, being Christ-like, being loving, being kind, being patient, being charitable. All of these things. That's like, wait. Like, oh, you think that's for Protestant losers? Like, even reading the Bible, it's like, that's for the priests. The priests read the Bible. They tell us what we're supposed to know. We don't need to read it. No. Being like Jesus, you can't do that. Christianity is for fuck up sinners. And like no, Catholicism, that's the way they see it. And the beauty of Catholicism is you could be a fuck up loser sinner, but you get forgiven because you have the right beliefs. If you believe it and you follow the actions, take the Eucharist and stuff like that, you get to be the worst dude in the world and still go to heaven, as long as it wasn't like a mortal sin that you did right before you repented. It, like if you don't break the rules, there's a setup for you to be, it's basically a prescription to be a piece of shit and get away with it. That's what Catholicism really ends up being. Except for like some of the evangelist types that will, like the father this or that, who will put on like a smile and he'll speak with a compassionate voice about join the church and Christ forgives you and we love you and stuff. And there is this like love of God for humanity. And if you develop that in yourself, that's like a high level calling of Catholicism that we're all supposed to do. But also if you don't, it doesn't matter, because God is like, it's paid for. Like Jesus died for us. So it's sort of a religion for pieces of shit. That's what Catholicism ends up being. It's a religion for loser bastards who get to feel better than everybody else because they're going to heaven and you're not. And you're against Christ. Fuck you. Like that's how they get to treat it. It's like, fuck you. You're in the wrong gang. You don't believe in Christ. You're evil. I'm in the good gang. You're in the dumb idiot gang. I'm winning. You're losing. While they get to be wretched and also feel better than you. It's like, what a great gang to be in, right? But that's really kind of how they see it. And they wouldn't say that. They would say, no, that's sort of like the wrong spirit to have about it. But that's how many, especially the online ones who I've come to know, that's how they act. That's how they treat it.
Well, joke's on them, because their church is getting queered and taken over and corrupted.
Well,
and that's, I think, it's going to be funny to watch, honestly, like because like I was trying to point this out to the Groypers when all this stuff started happening. I was like, here's how they're going to take over your church and here's how they're going to screw it all up. And this Pope is like really, and everyone knows the Pope is bad news, but like it's going to be corrupted within like 10-15 years completely. So joke's on them.
I've got a split feeling about this. Some in chat are saying this is literally what Nick once said on his show. And then also other ones are saying, big tech, this is all nonsense. This is absurd. So they can't agree about it. But that's my experience. I'm specifically talking about the online Catholics.
Yeah.
Because I don't know any Catholics.
I come from a big Catholic family. I have like 8,000 cousins and all that stuff, and it's pretty much the same. None of them are actually Catholic, but my brother and I were like the black sheep because we were never baptized, so we were always on the outside of the families. So
I've got this from them a lot of times. Like when I get them acting like, all right, well, what you just did, like that's a sin, right? Like you're sinning in this thing that you're doing. Like, well, yeah. It's like, okay, well, aren't you supposed to not do that because you're Catholic? And they'll be like, well, I never said I was a good Catholic. It's like, oh, okay. So when you're sinning, when you're not living in accordance with it, oh, it's just because you're just being a bad Catholic. Yeah, I'm still Catholic and I'm still in the faith and it's still all cool. I'm just being bad. Okay.
Well, Josh Randall says you serve at the right hand of Satan and my soul is in eternal danger. Do you serve at the right hand of Satan?
Big Tech serves at the right hand of Satan. Your soul is in eternal danger. Oh, well, he's a... Okay, Josh Randall.
I get about the fighting stuff too, because this is something they tried to attack me with. Because like I don't like debating people, because I think debating people is a giant waste of time. But I love fighting with people just because it's fun and people get all pissed off and all this stuff. And so one of the things they did to me was they got all these clips of me basically talking about like, you know, like, oh, I get off on fighting, I get off on triggering you guys, like whatever. They sent them all around the internet saying like this horrible psychologist, and they like made this big stink with like the state of New Hampshire where they tried to get like my psychology license pulled, even though I don't have to have a psychology license to do what I do. But like, I don't get it though, because the people who seem the most hell-bent on saying like, oh, you know, you shouldn't be fighting, they're the ones that are always fighting with other people. So obviously they get off on it too. And I just feel like I'm much more honest about enjoying it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. Can you say that again? All right, embarrassing. I'm in a conversation with you, but I just got like 3 messages in a row that I was reading while that, and I want to make sure that I actually understood what you just said before I respond.
Okay. What did I just say? I just said
Something about enjoying
yeah.
it,
I,
being honest about enjoying it. About honest about enjoying what exactly?
some about fighting with people.
Fighting on the drama. Yeah.
Yeah, fighting in the drama.
Okay. I knew that I missed like 2 or 3 words of what you said, but I thought that's what you said. So yeah, I think the fighting and the drama is fun, and but I've sort of run out of steam for it, or I haven't found one that's worth doing in a while. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
I it's good content. It's like a hype content. Like the audience likes it, and it's fun and it's easy. It's sort of low hanging fruit. Some people might get stressed out about it and they think that it's bad and they don't like it. For me, it's just like, oh, cool. There's a thing to engage in. Let's see what happens. It's sort of, it feels risky. It feels adventurous. It feels fun. Something. Let's see what happens next.
Hmm.
And when you can get a good own on somebody, that's fun. If they get one over on you, that's it. It's like, oh wow, what, you know, that's fun. But also it eventually I found that um, it can devolve. It can devolve into being sort of ugly.
Yes.
It devolves into
Yeah.
ugliness, and some people will find a way to make you regret it. You know, like
Mhm.
they'll just go grimy. They'll get
Oh
resentful. They'll
yeah.
get vindictive. They'll get vengeful, and you start seeing ugly sides of people come through, and you go, oh, you didn't need to be taken there. All right, well, that sucks. So I'm less interested, and people get hurt feelings too. That people get like hurt, and then you see like the worst side of them come out because of the hurt feelings. You know what I mean?
Oh
I
yeah.
hate seeing that. I hate seeing people I hate to see people get hurt, and then they show you their worst self,
Hmm.
and that's rough. That's rough.
So
I don't like stimulating that people. I like to see the fight, but I like to see good sportsmanship. You know, I like to see like let's fight and have fun, but not like get all cringe.
you're nicer about it than I am because I lost all empathy for these people at some point, and now because I mean
Mm.
I used to be able to say like there was one person in particular. It's like he and I used to be friends and we spent all this time together and like all this stuff, and then he had basically a psychotic meltdown, and I don't want to go into that too much, but like he basically like completely changed into another person, and there was part of me that I was like, I can see your potential. I know what you're capable of. I know you can do better than this. I know that you don't care about this stuff, but he got so sucked into like the fighting on the internet that it was just like it basically destroyed him. And at some point I went from really wanting to be like, dude, are you okay, because like we don't really need to be fighting like this. Like this is it was ridiculous to the level at which we were fighting. And I was like, are you like we can just like make up and be cool because you really seem like you're having some problems. And at some point it got to the point where he just kept coming at me that I was like, all right, I no longer care. And now I'm going to enjoy watching you sink into whatever hellhole you're going into, because karma's going to bite you in the ass badly because of how you handled all this stuff. And that's not on me, that's on you. So I don't
Mm.
know. I feel like I feel a little disappointed in myself because like I feel like there was a time when I had a lot of empathy for people, and I feel like the internet has sucked all of my empathy away.
Yeah, I can see how it can go in that direction. I can feel that pull myself, and I don't like it. You know, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It feels bad. It feels dark and ugly and empty. And but I don't even know how. I don't know how well I'm battling it. I just know that like I don't want to keep going that way. I can feel a little bit of, you know what I mean? Stonks are going the wrong direction. Like
Mhm.
my faith in humanity, my love for people, my charity, my goodwill. I can feel that being taken away to someplace else, and like, oh, I don't want to just be like surrounded by people who I have no hope in or no care for, or I just think that they're just ugly, and I don't want to. And it feels like, oh, if I make a connection with somebody again, can I just count on this person? Is he just gonna be another rotten bastard?
Oh
They're
yeah.
just gonna get like some sort of like petty offense, and then go adversary on me and go ugly and start lying to me or gossiping about me or trying to set me up or trying to get. Wow, wow, dude, people are fucking wretched, and you don't know either. You don't know until you know. You find out like the thing that they had, that they were willing to do. You don't know until you cross that line with them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I completely get it. And I hate that I can't trust anyone that I meet on the internet now, because this is what I do all day, every day. And it's like, my audience wants me to talk to other people. They want me to go on all these other channels. They want me to go on shows again. And I'm just like, I don't want to do any of that. Like, I don't trust any of these people. Like, they've all thrown me under the bus. And even the ones that haven't, like, I look at them and I'm like, you're gonna about to do, like, if you had to choose to between, like, getting clout for making a video about me doing, like, spouting all sorts of nonsense, or like being loyal and being a good person and doing the right thing, you're going to make the
Mhm.
video. And I know you're going to make the video, because that's what this is. Like, there are some people on YouTube that literally the most successful videos they've ever been made have been lying about me and defaming me. And it's just like, bro, like, it's just not worth it. And that's why I really just started, like, focusing, like over a year ago, just like, I'm gonna sit in my small corner of the internet and I'm gonna do my socialism stuff, and whoever wants to come play with me can come play with me, but I don't want anything to do with any of you. You're all crazy.
What it turns out is that, especially in this sector over here where I've been hanging out, the people who do the best are the ones who actually they are fueled by that. Like you'll
Yeah.
hear Ralph will say regularly that he actually runs on spite, and there's people that have that in them, and I'm just not like that. I'm just I find I'm the other way. I'm totally the other way, and it doesn't mean I don't like conflict. I think conflict is fun, but it's not spite driven. Like I find it to be like I'm running on like it's sort of like thrilling and exciting and fun and funny, but like a guy like Ralph will succeed though over here. The ones that succeed, the ones who have the long track record, like I said, you kind of can't take it away from him. But like he does what he does and is who he is and keeps going, because when that happens, it fuels him. Like he runs on darkness, like he runs on spite, So like when he gets double crossed, he's like, yeah, now he's got like 10 more streams in him. And he like almost
Mhm.
needs somebody to backstab him. He needs somebody to hate on him. He needs something bad to happen for people to mock him. He needs like some nasty darkness to happen so that he can have more energy for his show. Like he runs on evil. It's like,
Mhm.
whoa. And I think Nick is a little bit like that too. I think Nick is a little bit like that too. And there's something about him with the anti-social, like you can call it competitive, but it's really not that. It's more like I'll fucking show you. Like he has that
Mhm.
energy. I'll show you. I'll fucking win. And it's like I'll win just to spite you. I'll win just to rub it in your face that you couldn't fucking stop me. You thought that I was a loser. I'm not. Now I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm a millionaire. Fuck you. It's like a hating, spiteful evil inside this person is driving them to succeed. And those are the ones who succeed. So that's like the nature of the toxic engine over here is where, and the ones who just like, yes, more darkness, more cringe, more embarrassment, more suffering, more, oh, yeah, content. Like the content is like human evil. It's crazy. And so the ones who have even had the most upset with me are the ones who are like, well, it's a mixed bag, but some of them are just like they've gotten like, how come you're not fighting anymore? How come you're not hurting people? How come you're not mixing it up? This was you could have dunked on this person, instead you didn't. Why didn't you step up and fight this person? You backed down. I'm like, well, I don't want people to. I don't actually enjoy seeing people get hurt. That's just not who I am, and I'm not virtue signaling. I don't like how it feels when I see people like, and I don't mean like my enemies, like I couldn't take the head off a guy who needed to go down or something like that. I'm saying like some retarded idiot who stumbled into a fight with me and it's going bad for them and now they're crying. It's like, well, I feel pity for them. Like I don't
Yeah.
go like, yeah, let's fucking rub it in their wounds more. I'm like, well, can we like let off him a little bit? Like let him up, let him safe it. Can okay, he's still swinging. We got to hit him again, but it's like I'm trying to stop. We fight when we need to fight, and we don't when we don't need to. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
But these people, like, they live on it and they live for it, and they like to see bad things happen to people.
Yeah.
There's
They get
something
off.
in them that makes them enjoy that. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
enjoy that.
it probably makes them feel better about, like, whatever their lives are. And I always try, like, even when I'm going at someone, I kind of try to do, like, I try to remind myself, like, you don't know what's going on in this person's life. They're probably projecting a lot of crap onto the internet. Like, whatever, don't be a bitch. Like, what?
Yeah,
But sometimes it's just too tempting. But it does get exhausting. after a while. Like when I was having that whole back and forth with Brittany and Mio the week of Christmas, I was like, I can't do this. I'm gonna go back to social. I was ready to quit socialism and just do drama internet because it's so much easier. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is exhausting. It's sucking my soul. I'm gonna go back and at least I feel like I'm doing something productive with socialism anyway. But then I keep getting dragged into things. And sometimes it's fun, but not for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. With those two in particular, it's the same thing. Like I see, like I've been into scraps with them, and I'll see that they'll go, and some people they don't mind. It becomes where sometimes it's like I want to stop because they're being almost embarrassing. Like they're getting so cringe or so weird or so worked up or they're lying so much or they're being so whatever. It's like, oh, why? I'm embarrassed now to even be, why am I interacting with these people? Now it's sort of like their weapon against me is that they're being so stinky that I just want to leave the room. It's like, all right, you can have it. You win. It's like, yeah, we won with our stink. Like, okay, I guess I'll go. You win.
Like you said, your audience likes seeing you fight. Like my audience does not like seeing me fight because my audience likes the socialism stuff. And so like anytime I get into it with someone, there's always like I do these like supporter calls twice a week, and they kind of like they take me aside and they're like, Carlin, you need to stop this now. This is ridiculous. Like go back to doing the other stuff. So it's like they give me like the stern talking to that I probably need when I'm in it.
Yep. I've had a couple of those.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those that are kind of sobering.
Yep. Anyway, I want to get this super chat from Rottweiler real quick.
Go ahead.
The funniest thing with this Christian nationalism pushed by Orthobros and Tradcasts, I wonder how many radicalizing glowies are within Nick's cult. Probably a lot, I would think.
It's sort of hard to assume that it's hard to accept that there isn't. Like if I was if I was a Fed, if I worked at the Pentagon and I wanted to stop radical right wingers or infiltrate their groups, you think I wouldn't have a foot in the door at cozy.tv or in Nick's organization or something like that? Like no way. Especially if Nick is willing to make deals with anybody and he like respects people who give him money. It like wouldn't it wouldn't be hard at all, and it would be really valuable to be able to like be in their group chats and to be maybe have a backdoor to their website and to be able to track who's going to their events and to be able to record the chat and have something monitoring it for red flags and looking into personalities who are like. So yeah, this if anybody says no, it's not a problem and it's not dangerous to be associated with this. It's like, I think being associated with Nick comes along with accepting that there is going to be that's just going to be getting monitored by people who want it to go down. They want it to stop, or they want to use it against you, or if they can, they will. And I don't see what would be stopping him. It's not like Nick runs like some sort of tight ship over there or something like that. I didn't go through any type of interview to get a channel with him. He never reached it out to me personally, unless there was a problem. Like never preemptively, no screening, no application. I didn't have to like. There was nothing. I was just like, it was like, welcome aboard. Like, okay. And so even when they started developing the theory that I might be a Fed infiltrator, it's like, well, I mean, if I was, it wouldn't have been hard to get in there. Like, so like even to assume that I could be, it's actually a valid assumption because there's nothing stopping a Fed from doing exactly what I was doing. Like if I was, wouldn't have been hard. So it's like, you know what I mean? There's no vetting, there's no screening, there's no stopping anything. They're not running any type of operational security at all. So if you want to say that there's no Fed influence over there, it's like, well, I don't know why. There's nothing stopping them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. Well, we've been chatting for almost 2 hours. I don't know. You have any questions for me? You want to keep going? What do you want to do?
If I did, they'd have to be really good questions that I really needed to hear the answer to right now.
Okay.
Because I got to pee and I don't have any of those. So I'm happy to wrap it up.
That's cool.
I'm ready to wrap. Let's go. But we can do it again anytime.
All right. So we're still internet boyfriend and girlfriend for a little while. Is it okay?
I'm gonna go carve your name and your initials and mine into the tree.
Are you gonna get my name tattooed on you yet?
I'm gonna wait on the tattoo.
Okay. We'll work on that. We'll get you drinking better beer than IPAs, and then we'll work on the tattoo.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Oh
Yeah,
wait,
give me some beer
actually,
advice.
before you go, I have one quick question. Have you ever been to the High Dive in San Diego?
Nope.
You need to go to the High Dive. It's over by SeaWorld. They have, I was just thinking about this place. I used to go there when I was like, I had a client out there. They have like the best burger in like the history of humanity. It's called the Kraken. And it's like, it's this crazy thing. And it's just like, it sounds disgusting, but it's like a burger with a ton of gorgonzola cheese. And it's between like two peanut butter and sriracha jelly sandwiches. And it's like the greatest thing that ever.
What
I was,
the?
it's so good. Google, I swear to God. Like, hang on.
No.
Kraken. It's so good. And they have a, I never had the big one. I had the little one.
Peanut butter and sriracha
Yeah. It's really
and a
good.
burger with gorgonzola. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Hang on. I'll show you a picture. It is the greatest burger ever made, and it's at a little bar in San Diego. There you go. You're
What
welcome.
the?
It's really good.
Okay.
Pro tip.
Okay. Well, I'll have to check that out. That looked, interesting. I'm interested in, there's a lot of foods I ain't had yet, and I always want to try it.
Oh.
All right, I'll let you know when I get it.
Awesome.
When I go down the next time, I'll try to remember the High Dive. That's a bar or a restaurant?
It's a bar.
High Dive.
Yeah.
With the Kraken. All right, cool. I'll get that and I'll let you know how it goes.
All right. Well, thank you for chatting with me. This was fun. I want to do it again sometime.
Okay, cool. Glad you had fun. I had fun too.
All right.
See you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Carlin.
Bye.
How do I end this call?
You just leave. You want me to kick you out? There you go. There he goes. All right, guys. So I'm gonna head out too because I also need to pee actually. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. It seemed like people did enjoy it, so that was good. So still got the internet boyfriend. Yay. And now I'm gonna go because it's been a long day and I'm gonna go hang out. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow for happy hour. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.